Justin Gaethje, thank you so much for joining me. University of Northern Colorado's wrestling room. I mean, this is the place where you worked for years. You earned All-American status in this room. There's obviously some special memories here. For you, what first comes to mind when you walk in here?
Hard work. Just even driving into this town, driving up that road, I just remember, just vivid memories, driving in with my dad with all my stuff in my car. By myself, I did not know one person here. It was just from day one, just an amazing experience all the way around. Through this room, this whole school, walking around the campus. I mean, this was where I grew up, became an adult. My parents were very, very strict, and my first year here was my first year, alone and by myself and making my own choices. Made some bad ones, made some good ones, and I learned a lot along the way.
What were you like as a college student? Obviously, you were working hard as a wrestler, but we know that wrestlers like to have a good time as well.
Yeah, I was here to wrestle, unfortunately. I really wish I would have, bought in a little bit more into the education part. I really liked the education part, but I was so focused and worried about wrestling that, that the education always took a back seat. So, I look back, that wasn't the best thing for me. But, it's why I'm here. It's why I'm fighting for the UFC, about to fight for a world title.
Absolutely, and you're in the Hall of Fame here, the Athletic Hall of Fame, which obviously says a lot about your accomplishments on the wrestling mat. But you mentioned the studies. I always found it really intriguing that you knew what you wanted to do. You knew you wanted to help at-risk youth and underprivileged youth and work as a social worker. I mean, for you, as a young guy who's going into college, what made you pick that as a major?
I would say one thing that, from day one, I've understood and, through the time learned more that my family, my parents are not something that every person has. The support system, I never stayed the night at one person's house through high school, through anywhere, because my parents, didn't trust other people to make the choices they would make. And that's, as soon as I learned that, then helping others, like my best friend in college, Rocco DePaulo, not the same upbringing, but, made choices through life, had certain people at certain times in his life that put him on different paths than he was going. And that ultimately changed his life, and it's the reason why he's about to have a second child. He's a teacher, he's a wrestling coach for a high school. So once I understood that it really takes one person to influence something like that, then I knew that I had to. And I've always wanted to help people. I mean, going through school, I don't know, something about helping people, I think, makes me, whether it makes me feel good, if it's, I don't know. I think helping others is a good way to live. I think if you look for opportunities every day, not going out of your way necessarily, but if it's the way of life, then I think you're making people's day, by chance, on accident.
I mean, it says a lot about your character that that's what you wanted to do at such a young age, and that's how you still, look at life. But I'm curious, if you were to tell Justin Gaethje, who was going to practice in this room, that you would be a part of one of the greatest fights in UFC history, the one that took place at Madison Square Garden at UFC 268, how would you have reacted back then?
I don't know. I remember, coming here thinking of where I would be when I was done, where I'd be when I was 30. I remember having thoughts like that, and I really just never, ever knew. I didn't know where I would be or what I would be doing. As soon as I found fighting and started fighting in the summers here, I fell in love with it. But again, I never thought it was what I would be doing. I never thought I would be here. Why would I? For me, it's a day at a time, and I think that's why I'm here. So, I don't know. I don't think I would have believed you. I wouldn't. I wouldn't want the information. I don't think I'd be here if I knew then what I know now. I think how I'm doing it and how I've done it is exactly how I want to do, how I want it to play out.
Well, that's a really interesting take. Were you ever fearful of things? Like, were you scared the first day when you came to college and you didn't know anyone? And were you scared when you graduated, not sure of what the path might be?
No, I was never scared. I never wondered where. I just always, every day I had a schedule. I had a plan, and I showed up, I worked as hard as I can, and I went home and I relaxed. There was times when I could have done things business-wise to be better set up in that regard. But again, it was always show up to practice and work as hard as I can. And that's ultimately all it was from day one till today.
Do you feel like that's what's carried you so far in your UFC career?
Yeah, I think so. I think going back to when I first showed up, I mean, I really wanted to prove myself. That's something that the competitor in me always wants to prove others right more than wrong. But so I wanted to prove my parents right. I wanted to prove my coaches right that brought me into this room. When I showed up here, it wasn't necessarily a Division I wrestling room. The mentality wasn't there. As a whole, these guys were here to drink and to party and to wrestle and get try to get an education in some way. But I think when I came in here, I think I played a big part in changing that. My first year was their first year Division I, so there was a lot of changes going on when I first showed up here.
And you were the first All-American, right, since they were reinstated as a Division I wrestling team?
Yep, first and only one still.
Wow.
That's why I'm in the Hall of Fame just this year. So yeah, it's again this whole place, this room, the smell, it all brings back great memories.
What do you think the wrestling mat, the wrestling room has taught you as a competitor, but also as a professional athlete?
I think at the end of the day, this mat, there's nothing fake about it. You don't see in the midst of competition, it is one of the truest forms of competition next to MMA when we get to punch each other. And I learned that from early on. It's one-on-one, and it's you versus you at the end of the day. And so that it teaches you to overcome, be comfortable, with doubt, with reason, with unreasonable thoughts, and then you find comfort in the chaos in here. And that's what wrestling has taught me for a long time.
Well, it certainly served you well.
Yeah.
The last time we saw you in the octagon, as I alluded to, was in the world's most famous arena in New York City in November. Yeah. How did that fight impact you, Justin?
I'm kind of weird in a way. It didn't impact me in any way whatsoever. It was fun. It was a great experience. It'll be cool to talk about, when I'm done. I have 7 nieces, 2 nephews. These stories are for them. One day I'll have kids, and these stories will be for them. These are the good old days, but right now I'm living them. And so, I think it was awesome. The whole experience was awesome. But it was, in my mind, no different than first fight, just walking out. It doesn't matter. Once I fought Tony Ferguson, I can understand that there is no outside influence. And if I'm influenced by an outside source and I can control that, then now doesn't matter where it's at.
Wow. I feel like my life was impacted more by that fight than I guess, because I still think about it.
Yeah, it was a great night. I mean, for me, for my coach mostly, to get three wins in one night, 2 champions. I'm trying to give him 3 champions, and I'm sure it's maybe been done, if done maybe only once. So yeah, he deserves the credit, and it's a fun ride.
Let's talk about that fight. Your upcoming title fight is against Charles Oliveira in May in Phoenix, Arizona. There were rumors that it was going to be in his home country of Brazil, and now it's in your home state of Arizona. How special was it, or did you maybe want it to be on enemy turf?
In hindsight, I would have preferred Phoenix. Going to Abu Dhabi, if you're a creature of habit, you want to have control over certain things. Your nutrition, your water, your sleep, all these things are like the most important factors for me. And those are things when you go to different countries, different time zones, different cultures, you don't see. And I think Phoenix will be great. I think this time around, this shot for a title is perfect. I think I'm going to win. I know it. I have a feeling deep inside me. So I'm excited to get it done.
How many tickets did you have to buy?
I bought 25 tickets. I sent them all the link.
There you go.
I got 25. I like to give tickets. Like I met a veteran on the corner, flagged me down when I was riding my bike. I'm giving him 4 tickets. Random people I'll give tickets to that have never been to fights. Maybe I'll find myself in a conversation at breakfast with a couple that's never been to a fight, and they would never think they would be, and then they have a conversation, so then they go. So I don't know. I have about 25 of them I got so far.
That goes back to your caring nature and the character of who you are.
I'm just trying to share the.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
But how many friends and family do you think are purchasing tickets to be there for you?
I mean, thousands. I would say a
Wow.
couple thousand, 3,000, 4,000.
Wow.
Yeah, I really don't know. It's crazy. Not just, growing up, I wrestled from very young. We would go to tournaments every weekend in the cities. As a small school, we would go. We were the second best team in the state of Arizona. We'd
Wow.
go to all these tournaments, Tucson, Phoenix, the biggest schools. We would wrestle them. I had some of my most competitive times through high school in some of these, right within 30 miles of where I'm going to fight.
Wow.
So the connection I have that I don't even know, I wouldn't even know the people that are going to be there that are there to watch me, but it's going to be everybody pretty much, yeah.
That's going to be amazing. I can't wait to hear their reaction when you walk out. But, I want to talk about your opponent because before he submitted Dustin Poirier in December, it seemed like you weren't a big fan of his. You weren't maybe thrilled with how he was as the UFC lightweight champion.
Yeah.
But after he submitted Dustin, I did an interview with you, and it seemed like he had earned your respect. You guys had an interaction.
Yeah.
What did you originally think of him, and why did it change?
No, it's just so something about me, I just say what I think, and I wasn't being overly critical. I wasn't saying he's a bad champion. I was saying in the times that he's lost, he didn't even get knocked out. He's quit sometimes, and the choice to quit is something that one makes, and once you make it, you can make it again because you know that it's there. I don't believe I've ever made that choice. I don't believe some people have, and I believe some people have, and I don't think you could be honest with yourself if you have because you can't fight again.
Right.
I believe that he has, and that's all I was stating is that I believe deep down he knows his way out, and that's just to quit whenever he gets hit too many times too hard. All those assessments were of a younger man. He's 30 years old, 31 years old. He is a man now, and with confidence. A man with confidence is a dangerous man, and he's not the same man that I was referencing. So I'm excited to, but again, deep down, once it happened once, it'll happen again. And I'm the perfect guy to show it to him, and I will show it to him May 7th. Got to stay out of grappling positions, obviously, but I'm going to put a hole right in his face, and it's going to be glorious.
He talks about your heavy hands. He gives you a lot of credit and says that's your biggest threat. But for you, when you look at this matchup, what weapons have to be the sharpest?
Everything. I have to be, this is a world championship fight. I have to be the best in the world for 25 minutes, not for right now, not in this interview. I don't got to say the perfect things now, but on May 7th at 9:30 Mountain Time, I'm going to be perfect, and I'll be perfect for 25 minutes. If he could beat me, then kudos to him. But he's going to have to walk through hell like Khabib did, and, he's not as powerful. He doesn't have the structure. He doesn't have the frame, and he doesn't have explosive takedowns. He's going to have to find me, making a mistake, overreaching, and try to get into a grappling situation. Outside that, he better be praying every day that he gets me to the ground, because if not, it's going to be same night as Chandler, except 5 rounds. And if I went 5 rounds with Chandler, he would have died, and that's the truth. So I'm glad we didn't go 5 rounds.
Yeah, me too. But you're right. You are the perfect guy to test, what he's got inside of him. But you mentioned Khabib. How much did that experience and everything you went through, trying to unify those titles and going to Abu Dhabi for everything, how much did that experience help you leading into this one?
Yeah, I think it helps tremendously. Every experience that I've gone through in life is why I'm here. I can't take the negative and throw it away or the positive and throw it away. It's all been a learning experience. Again, if you're a creature of habit, you were absolutely screwed in Abu Dhabi because that was the situation. I loved it. I loved it because, there was no other options. COVID was a thing, maybe, and then we got an island, so that was our only option. But I'm glad I went through it. Fighting not outside of that. Fighting Khabib off the death of his father, I think, was a bigger impact on that fight than me being in Abu Dhabi. So I think under those circumstances, that I have a hard time beating him no matter what.
What makes you have such honest assessments of yourself? Because not every fighter who sits across from us in these interviews can really look at situations and say, hey, this is how it is point blank.
I think it's the easiest thing to do. If you have to, again, create something, and if for one, they're creating a false confidence and a false bravado, and it's the worst thing you can do in there. Like, again, that's what I'm counting on. A portion of his confidence is false right now, and I know that. And that's because I've seen it. That's because it's in him, and that's because he's fought for so long. But I don't know. I think it's the easiest way. It's the best way for me to approach this chaotic situation. I think if you try to create a bunch of facades and try to mask feelings, then I think, when it all rushes to you on that walk, that's when you become absolutely terrified. You might as well accept it now. Accept the worst case scenario. What is the worst possible thing that could happen on that night? Not even getting knocked out. I mean, me falling into a grappling situation and him choking me out and say the first 3 minutes, that would be absolutely embarrassing, devastating, but I have to be okay with that, and then I have to understand that is real. And then with that is so him choking me is death in my mind, because if there's no ref, here we are. And even the chance of chronic injury if, something happens. So I make that as real as possible, and you have to be honest about that. And then when it's real, you allow the most natural instincts, which is adrenaline and all the endorphins, the DMT, who knows what we release. When you're in a real life and death situation, we go to certain special places, and I have found comfort there. And it's a great place to be. I don't know why I only want to go there twice a year, but it is really, really comfortable there. Time slows down. There's no noise. It's weird. It's a weird time, and I love it.
Obviously, you thrive there.
Yeah, it's something I've trained my mind for a long time.
When you look at his last couple of performances, it's against guys you've faced as well. Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler. How do you assess how he fought them?
So I watch fights as they happen in time, in live. When those fights happen, I was there at the Dustin fight. I watched the Chandler fight. But at the end of the day, I don't take too much from anything, because 25 minutes in time is all that matters. 25 minutes. And if you're going to draw too many things from the past and try to influence that 25 minutes from different times, then I don't know. I don't think that's how I want to approach it. I want the 25 minutes to be as pure, and I want to be prepared, and that's why I have the best coach in the world. He watches the film. He creates the game plan. We don't talk about it. I don't ask him questions. I just work, and that's what I've done on this mat. That's what I've done this whole time, is just show up and work. I've had great and been lucky enough to have good coaches and good influences in my life, and I just follow directions.
That coach being the great Trevor Whitman.
Yeah.
Tell me about this training camp. Is it the same as all your other camps? Do you do anything different when it's a situation like this?
Yeah, no, it's the same. It's the same. I have to be mentally prepared to go in there and be my best. 23-3, 19 knockouts, all the bonuses. That's what, I'm the most exciting fighter that has ever stepped foot in that octagon. I know for a fact, in time, that will be true. So, I don't know. I'm just loving it.
No, and I'm loving hearing you talk about it. And you mentioned, hey, I'm the most exciting. I mean, there's probably not a truer nickname in the game than the highlight. I mean, that is you. You are the highlight. So what kind of highlight are you expecting from yourself?
I wish I could give you something exciting. I don't know, I don't care. I just know that I've worked so hard to be here. I've made all the right choices. I've done, I've controlled the 4 or 5 things that I can possibly control with the time that I've had. And that's all I can count on, and I will step in there and it'll be an amazing fight. I will have an amazing performance. I know I will. Because that's who I am. I'm a show-off. I'm a performer. That's what I've been since a little child. I perform. These wrestling matches are boring, but when my match came up, everybody was there. Everybody was screaming. These matches were louder than they've ever been. That's who I've been from day one.
What will it mean for you to go from a small town in Arizona to here in Greeley, Colorado, to Phoenix, Arizona, in the center of downtown, and win the UFC world title there? Yeah,
so what this will mean, it really can't be put. It's not even the reach that I have and the platform that the UFC has given us. I have the opportunity every time I step in there. If I put this dude's lights out and the satellites from across, from in orbit got a picture, there's a bright light in an instant across this earth. I can reach across this earth at once, and that's my plan. I want to inspire the world, one fight at a time. But this one is the best opportunity to do that.
We can't wait for it, Justin. Good luck to you. May 7th in Phoenix, Arizona, UFC 274. You'll be fighting for that lightweight belt.
Yes, I cannot wait.